Hello, and like I always say, it's a pleasure to be here because at the end of 1 hour, a lot would have been achieved. I will be learning, you will be learning, and very importantly, everything that touches your pocket is a must learn for all of us. I would want to advise all of us to bring out our pieces of papers, if not notebooks, bring your pen, and then sit down and learn a lot today because we're going to be talking about that thing that is supposed to make your table good and your stomach feel better. It is the family wallet, how to preserve it, how to serve it. There are a whole lot of potholes within the pockets that keeps leaking and siphoning things. But if we know how to mitigate against that, we will enjoy our lives better. It is not often the lemon that life provides for you. It is how you're able to turn it into lemonade and make life good that matters. My name is Elizabeth, and the program is Conversations. And we have ladies in the house, yes. And later on, we'll be joined by a man because in a family, there has to be a man to ensure that things move well, too. It's not just a woman, even though we're the homemaker. But then, the women, introduce yourselves.
My name is Joel Panachi. It's
Okay?
good to be here
All
this
right.
morning.
All right. Is your pocket leaking?
Yes, it is.
My name is Maimuna Omi Abdullah, aka Coach Didi, and good morning to you all.
Okay.
My name is Devan Hamat, your mom, and it's good to be here.
All right, it's good to be here because it's a learning curve for all of us. And I told the man will be joining us, but let's look at something critical. Did you buy fuel as you were coming?
Oh, no, I did.
But you did.
Yesterday.
Okay,
Yeah,
yesterday.
yesterday.
How much did you buy?
I bought 20,000 and it still didn't get anywhere.
Anyway, someone told me that it's not the money you spend buying it that is an issue. It is how you use it. And so we're going to put up a tip on how to ensure that in spite of a hike, which is actually very good for us from different point of view, we will be preserving our fuel if we get to watch this tip together. Let's see it.
Subsidy. Ipman hails federal government over approval for private importers says.
With the subsidy removal and its attending hike in fuel price, car owners across the country are definitely seeking ways out. Here are a few tips to help preserve your fuel and ultimately your savings. Avoid car idling. The fact is, today's engines are highly fuel consuming. Hence, the need according to automotive fleets for drivers to turn off engines when idle with their cars. Idling for more than 10 seconds uses more fuel and emits more CO2 than restarting an engine. So when next you're pulling off the road to attend to something briefly, ensure you put off your engine. This also helps protect our environment from global warming. Keep tires pumped up. Tires that are underinflated have a higher rolling resistance on the road. This means that with every kilometer traveled, your tires generate more friction and rolling resistance. Hence, will increase fuel consumption. It is important at this period you get your tires properly pumped. Drive with the air conditioning. Driving with the windows down at speeds faster than 80 kilometers per hour causes a lot of wind resistance and costs you a lot more fuel according to Mobil. In this instance, it's simply more fuel efficient to drive with the air conditioning on. To further this point, the fuel economy said, driving with your windows down can also reduce fuel economy. Open windows increase aerodynamic drag, making your vehicle use more energy to push through the air. This effect is quite small at low speeds, but increases at highway speeds. Tighten up preventive maintenance. Improper maintenance has the potential to decrease your vehicle performance and, in consequence, bear on fuel consumption. It is important you keep an eye on failing oxygen sensors, dirty or clogged air filters, bad spark plugs, bad fuel injectors, and defective coolant sensors or engine thermostats. Unaligned wheels that fight each other will also waste fuel. Putting fleet vehicles on tighter lube, oil, and filter replacement schedules allows technicians to spot these issues before they mushroom. Minimize aggressive driving. Hard cornering and braking, weaving in and out of traffic, don't save much time off trips. Instead, they wear out components such as brakes and tires faster. Aggressive driving can lower fuel economy by 15 to 30% at highway speeds, and 10 to 40% in stop-and-go traffic, according to the EPA. Cruise in top gear. If you're driving an automatic car, make use of cruise control to keep your speed constant. And if you're driving a manual car, maintain a higher gear when appropriate. In each of these instances, your engines go through less revolutions per minute and will reduce your fuel consumption. Lose the weight in your boot. For those with the habit of keeping everything and anything in the boot, in addition to emergency spares, think twice when loading up next time. Every extra 50 kilograms your car puts on increases fuel consumption by 2%. Avoid braking aggressively. Slamming on the brakes increases fuel consumption as you need to accelerate again later. This is especially true if you follow too closely behind the vehicle in front of you. And lastly, start carpooling in your neighborhood. That way, you don't need to use your car daily. Join your office vehicle or state-owned buses that are cheaper when possible. Do some kilometers on foot. After all, a little exercise is always great for our health.
All right. Well, that was going on. A lot of analysis was going on behind you, and of course within us here. And I told you that a man will be joining us. I'm not going to be partial. I'll let you do your introduction just like I did for the others.
Okay, good morning. My name is Dr. Henry Emeka Inyebu. I'm the head of credit and marketing at NISA Microfinance Bank. I also double as a family and relationship expert. I do that on the side, but
okay.
I'm glad to be here.
That's good. And I know that the argument started from Devon. When you asked the question, that had to do with what we're saying. So Devon, maybe you made the question obvious. Let him answer.
Well, yes, the thing is, as we were watching the clip, I saw something that goes against the grain of what is advised or what people just generally do. You're driving, you notice that your fuel level is going down, so
I know Joy does that.
you put your AC off, and because the assumption is the AC being on will use up more fuel because that's what is powering the car. And I just saw there that actually opening your windows causes drag on the vehicle, therefore, resistance, therefore making the car strain more. And maybe because we know that the vehicles are mechanized or motorized, we just assume that that's not the case. So that's a new one for me.
I'm not going to answer it. I'll still let you answer because you guys are having these arguments behind the camera. I want it in front of the camera.
There's actually a science to it, okay? And I agree with the submission in the presentation we just saw. What usually happens is that it's a mentality that we grew up with. We've seen that over time, that if you put your ACs off, your car the engine and fuel will run better. That's not true. The science actually is that by the time your windows are down, the movement of your car is slowed down. The engine works harder, and the combustion and all the things that happens in the engine draws and sips more fuel. So it's actually better to have your windows shut and then you drive and use your ACs on. I'm sure the presentation we saw actually tried to shed some light around that. It actually saves you more fuel to have your engine running with your fuel on, with your ACs on, than putting the ACs off and your windows down. Even simple understanding of how the wind blows. With the windows open, the wind is blowing into your car and your car is going in another direction. It will drag it, it will push further. Combustion it requires more fuel to push the car to go. So Science.
You know what you're saying, I kind of agree with it, but even though I never really thought about it until now. I remember I like to jog, and during the Hamatan season, the wind usually is very high. And when I try to jog, the wind pulls me backward rather than
And
forward.
you exert more energy.
Thank you. So I find myself, though I'm enjoying the weather, I push more, than usually I would do at ordinary time. So that's a new one on me, and I'm sure a lot of Nigerians too are also learning it. We learn every day, thanks to the winning team for that. But yeah, then beyond the fuel consumption, or let's still be on the fuel consumption, because beyond using fuel in the car, we use it at home. How do we begin to preserve, the fuel we put in our generators or even the gasoline to ensure that we do not spend too much money? I don't know.
Well, last year I knew that I couldn't buy diesel. It wasn't going to work for me because where I live, there's always you never have electricity. So what I now decided was that how am I going to cope buying diesel for days and still wanting to have the comfort? So what I just decided to do was, you know what? Let me save for the solar. And I saved,
Oh, that's a good one.
and I'm very, very, I think that was the best thing I did for myself and my family because I saved money to do the solar, and the guy just explained to me how I will use it, how I will maximize it. And what he now did was that he now told me that after a while, when you have more money, you now add panels and batteries, which made it really worked for me because I just realized that buying diesel was crazy. So now, how do people buy fuel? Look at the cost. I just bought fuel yesterday, and I bought fuel for 20,000. And when I looked at my gauge, I was dazed. So I looked at it and I said, anytime I will not leave. What I normally do is buy fuel on Sundays. I have now made it how do you call it? I've now made it a duty that I'm not going to buy fuel every Sunday anymore. Anytime the fuel goes down, if I have cash, I'll buy so that I don't feel the difference in the margin.
Oh, that's a good one again. And then I was told, I don't know if it works, if you also know about that, that if you want to buy fuel, it's best to buy it when the sun is not
So high.
intense.
Sure.
What's the science around that?
Well, it's a spirit. It evaporates.
It evaporates.
Oh,
Heat.
okay, it evaporates.
Yes.
And then that means when you're parking my car too, it's better
Park
to
it under
park
a
under
shade.
shade.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
So parking your car in the open,
Yes. Simple.
takes.
We live in a very high temperature environment, and the heat alone will have. Try it out. Put a liter of fuel in a keg and leave it outside for 24 hours. By the time you come back, it won't be 1 liter anymore.
I guess that's why everybody thinks somebody reduced the
It
fuel.
won't be 1 liter
Although maybe
anymore.
some people think that the driver has gone to so many places, not knowing that if he has to stay under the sun,
Yeah.
that's what
There
happens.
are,
That's
there are
can also-
actually a lot of measures people can take, as simple as not covering your tank properly. Okay, and a number of, and I'm going to say this, women tend not to look at that closely.
Don't call
Let's be
women.
honest.
That's
Let's be
not
honest.
true.
I don't know how the last time you got out of the car, bought the fuel yourself, opened your tank, bought the fuel, and locked the tank yourself.
No, I don't do
Ain't
this.
happening.
Okay,
No, I
so,
don't do it.
so
It-
what
it
you see
is.
Is it
happen?
supposed to
Yeah.
be my job?
Well,
is it not the
it-
fuel attendant?
No, I wait for it to cock.
Okay, what we are talking about right
Yes.
here is how best you can maximize the circumstances around.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we are saying, get out of the car, make sure it's properly locked.
Okay.
Now, first things first,
I
the,
get
the
that.
attendant is in a hurry to attend to the next
Yeah.
person, or probably just distracted. And all she just does, or he does, is just attempt to lock it and slam it. You hear the boom sound and you think it's locked. And as long as that tank cover is not properly locked, your fuel is evaporating. So,
Wow.
and I see a lot of people sit in the comfort of their car and just say,
No, I don't sit.
okay, you
Because
step
I
out
always
because you want to
because no, because I always want to see.
okay, but then you never go to make sure your tank
I
is locked.
don't.
Okay, so that's something
Yeah.
you can take away from here.
So what are the other ways?
Okay, so like you said, again, this is also psychological. Okay, do not wait for your tank to empty before you fill it up. Top up your fuel. Don't wait for it to be completely exhausted before you go out. So look at once your fuel drops to a certain limit, If it's a 5,000 naira fuel, go and put it in the car so you never get stranded. You're not under pressure to buy a 20 or 30,000 depending on the kind of car you use. So you're buying in small quantities. You're also managing your finances better. You can use money for other things and not just buy. By the time minimum wage, for goodness sake, is 30,000 naira. Now, by the time you're buying fuel for 20,000 naira, you're done for the month. So then you can take a 3,000 naira on a Monday, and then by Wednesday you take another 2,000 naira. At long run, you're spending the same amount, but something is happening to your mind.
Yes. You're not
Okay.
having to bring out all that money.
All the
at once.
money and tie it into fuel. At least you can buy other things.
No,
as you're going.
but you know one thing I now opted to do is I picked today to do everything I want to do, and I can now say, okay, in five days in a working day, let me work 3 days
It's better.
because it has saved me.
A regular 95% can do this.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
A
that's
regular 95.
Oh, look at Quara.
Okay.
They opted for 3 days out
Well.
of the
Just
5 days to go to work.
Then increase
Before
the,
they,
the
that's
time.
what
Oh,
that's
yes.
what the governor did, and I think that was a very good
I think
one.
it's not just Quara. I think one other state.
Okay, I saw
What
Quara.
was the
I think
point,
Yeah.
though?
No, because you know what? Like there are some banks now and some finance houses. You know, normally they all have different what do you call it? If you're marketing,
Okay.
you have
Roles,
different.
yes.
You have. So now they've decided that we're going to use one car. 3 of you will be in that car.
Pooling. It's called carpooling.
That's it.
Carpooling.
So
The
that,
carpooling is not a new concept.
well,
It's
but
been
that,
there
no,
before the
It's,
fuel.
but
But
it's
now,
deliberately doing it now.
yes.
Okay.
Cut down
What
Yeah.
I had a group of people I spoke to over this last weekend.
Yeah.
And what I said to them, this is not the time to form I'm a big boy.
Yes.
Okay. You live in the same estate.
Yes.
Pool cars.
Yes.
Come and then I drive mine on a Monday,
Yes.
and then Tuesday you bring yours.
Yeah.
Or we can
fantastic.
do weekly.
Yes.
And go to work together. Couples now go to work together.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a partner who works somewhere close to your office, you don't have to go with 2 cars. Okay, have one, the driver, or have yourself, drop off one person and take the other car. Now and then leave that other car. That comfort of, okay, I take my time and go anytime I want to. This is one time everybody must, come together and find best ways to maximize financing.
True.
Or you do water.
Yes.
Exactly.
Honestly, because a lot of people, before you actually go to a place, there's no more that surprise thing. Let me give her a surprise visit.
Surprise, yeah.
No,
Let me
it's not,
give her a
even
surprise.
about a surprise.
You need
okay.
to check if the person is there before you get on
No,
the
but
Yes.
the one that even kills me is okay. You pick me up. Okay, you pick me up. We're all going to the same place. You pick me up. You pick me up. Then when you now start picking them up, then you have to start dropping them off. So right now you have to come with your own car. No, it's not going to work.
No, it's better to do it
not
that way
gonna
and
work.
maybe pool funds
Yes.
together.
If you're going to
And-
pull funds
just like
together,
this,
yes.
together.
How many
Still
people
way
agree
cheaper.
to pool funds together?
Depends on the relationship. Anyway.
My dear,
Because
it
I
matter.
know a particular organization.
Yeah.
The lady was complaining. She closed work. I said, go home. She said no, that she's waiting for something. And I noticed she kept doing that. One day I gave her a call. I said, why is it that when you close, you refuse to leave? She said her colleagues join her. And she will ask them to pay. And they say, no. Is it not the same way you're going? If you didn't carry me, won't you pay? And I'm like, tell them that it's a handicap for you to buy fuel on regular basis. But if they could help you, you would gladly do this. Some people have that spirit of entitlement. They feel, okay, it's your car and you're going the same
So she's
direction.
not waiting for them to
I
pay the
have
price.
learned something again today, that having too many people in your car actually puts a weight on your vehicle and it draws on your fuel. So parking your colleagues without payment for me is a crime. It's true. Is that
Oh
not
my
true?
God.
Well, you should decongest your boots. Anything above 50 kg is heavy.
How do you start weighing? How do you know the weight?
No, it happens.
Well, the typical
Seriously.
adult should be about 50 kg. Too bad. You should
Because
just
the truth
get
is,
it.
when you load up 4 people at the back, so why do the people charge you extra money at the motor
that's
parks?
true, yeah.
Because they're going to buy extra fuel.
You see, like people who go to school, I always tell them, make sure you try to, for your kids' school to be very close to home.
Yeah.
But I think it's
Yes.
it's going to change
Yeah.
for the next session.
Yeah.
Then I always tell parents that, okay, if you have neighbors that the kids go to the same school, I can do Monday Tuesday, Wednesday,
Yes,
or
you
Monday,
do.
Tuesday,
Yes.
or you go, you take the kids to
I bring
school,
them back.
then I bring them back.
I did that a lot. I used
Yeah,
to drop
so
off.
I did that a lot.
Then
Yeah.
my neighbor would bring back for me.
We will survive.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
We will
Yes.
survive.
But beyond
Yeah.
that, house rent and cost of movement as
generally.
well is another sapper when it comes to our pockets. I have noticed within this city, a lot of people live in Maraba, Nyanya, Lugbe,
Suleja.
Gwagwalada, Suleja, and they all have to work in the city. Before this program, my team and I took time to, draft a cost for somebody who is living in Lugbe, and we found out with the new costs to buy fuel, and you come to work every day, full economic car. In a month, you're going to be spending nothing less than 100,000. So in a year, that's 1.2. If you're living in a two-bedroom apartment in the same Lugbe and you're paying 850, add 1.2 to it, that's 2 million, right? Then the same 2 million, you can pick it and pay for maybe a two-bedroom or a one-bedroom within the city where you can just do walk to your office, and you find out that you have also saved a whole lot. You've saved time. You also have saved a tear and wear in your car. I don't know what you think about that.
To be honest, this is a new phase and things must change. Just taking from what you said and what my sister said earlier, the fact that families must come together and do everything, have a paradigm shift. A number of things must happen, from looking at where your kids go to school, to where you shop, to where you work, and where you live. Now, where you have a couple that work, say, in the central area, and then you live as far as, say, Dede or Kubwa. No, Kubwa is even close by. Let's take it beyond and say Suleja, or even further down to Lugbe or Maraba. It's actually more cost effective to bring yourself closer to a Pape or to a Gariki to live and to come to work. On the long run, of course, you're paying more, but then you are saving money on the long run. But the problem again rises and falls on availability of funding. And that's why we exist as Nice Microfinance Bank. We give people money.
Did you hear that? I didn't see that coming.
No, but to be honest,
I would say, please
We are there
don't
to
take a
give
So
loan.
you will give us the money.
Don't
give
take a
loans.
loan.
When
Don't
you
take
don't-
a loan
Oh.
to pay rent.
No,
Don't
no,
take a
definitely
loan to
not.
marry wife.
Yes.
Don't take a loan to do birthday.
No.
No, but to be honest, people must look at how to re-engineer their financing. Okay, people must start second hustles and
That's
start
it.
other
That's
businesses,
it.
and that's
Side-
where we exist.
side hustles.
Just start something, do something extra.
Mm,
Come to
that
think of
brings
it,
in
and
something.
I say this every time I have the opportunity to talk to people. The concept of Nigerians living to live abroad or to Jakba, like they say, most people live here and go there, and they take 2 jobs.
True.
Okay,
Three.
they take 3
True.
jobs. Meanwhile,
Menial jobs.
Meanwhile, this same person living here in Nigeria didn't think it was proper to take a second job. So why can't we begin to
Well, I
rethink?
used to wonder.
Why can't
The
we
second
begin?
job is to
People
go and spend the
live
money.
and go abroad and they do housekeeping. They clean airports. They
Yes.
sweep streets.
They
Who
work
says
at
we can-
night.
They do taxi.
Yes, they work 24 hours. Of course, that's unhealthy. Who says we can't do that? Who says civil servants, those who do businesses, those who work in private organizations, can have another business? You can have a small poultry behind your house. You can have a small garden. Who says you can't breed chicken and sell, or have a small garden where you rear, where you grow carrots?
If I may come in here,
So there are things people must do.
the truth is, there are very few Nigerians that are doing only one job.
Yeah.
Most Nigerians have a hustle.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a time that there was this whole uproar about when Nigerian civil servants go on that 6-week leave.
Yes.
They go and do contracts, they do this one, they go to the farm, they do. There are very, very few Nigerians, except for health reasons, that are fully committed to one job. They always have a hustle, but it's usually a private hustle. They're not earning a salary here and earning a salary there, which is what happens in Weibo country. You are doing McDonald's here, you are going to wash one old woman's bum here, you are going to do the other thing there. So you are receiving salary in 3 places. With Nigerians, it's usually you are a civil servant
And you
And
do
you
and you do a
tell 'em.
one-off.
hang on, you are a civil servant and you have your fashion designing business. You are a civil servant, you have your small shops. You are a civil servant and you're selling eggs and so on. You come to the office with your jewelry that you bought and you're selling. There are very few Nigerians like that. Let's not go down that route. It's not true.
What you say,
We're
what you're
not
saying
earning
makes sense. But
salaries
what
in multiple
he's
places,
saying,
but we always
I-
have a hustle.
yes, what he's saying, I think maybe I could be wrong, is that small hustle we're doing, we could actually make it more practical,
Be
make it
consistent.
more organized.
Yes.
You know, don't feel okay. I have this big thing coming. This one is when I have time. Call it a job, right?
Exactly.
So
In fact, what we've seen happen is that, and let's look at it, that's what they do. They do, someone who must have gone to the UK or Canada will do a 9 o'clock to a 2 o'clock, and then dashes home and then take a 4 o'clock to a 7 o'clock. Who says we can deliberately do that and
But you
consciously
see,
do that?
But the difference here is the money is worth it.
Purchasing power. That's exactly where you're going to.
Yeah, that's where I'm
but
going
then
to.
we're looking at the situation where we are right now.
Yeah.
This is what it is. So let's make the best out of it. We will not be looking at that big dollar conversion or pounds conversion, and then we're not doing a little. So we must do that. Another thing that people must begin to do, and I say this to couples, is people must begin to spend their monies on paper first. On paper. Spend
Paper.
budget.
You budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the month or at the beginning of whatever period you sit down and say, okay, this is what is going to come in, and this is how we're going to spend it. And that's simple finance, concept. If you don't spend on paper, something is going to take that money away.
true.
Plan for it. Set aside. School fees is school fees. It will come. House rent is house rent. It will come. A woman that is pregnant today is going to give birth in 9 months.
That's
It
why
is not
you
an emergency.
You know what? That's why you have
Plan.
to save.
So that spending your money on
Saving.
paper will
Yeah.
encourage you to say a certain percentage will go into this.
Yes.
We'll do this for this. And then we also set spending limits. That's another thing people must learn to do.
Yeah.
Don't wake up and throw me a surprise that will take all our savings. Don't surprise me for that.
Who is
birthday
gonna
party.
surprise
No, the women tend to do that.
No. You
Who
see,
are
I
they?
knew you were going to get that.
No,
I knew you were going to
I
get
know
that.
you're going to take me on that.
I knew you were going to get
Hey,
that.
woman just-
This is the second time he's attacking
Apart
women.
from that,
I
Right
knew you were
inside our own
going to
domain.
get
if
that.
I may chime in
Yes.
here,
Yes.
philanthropy, acts of charity.
Yes.
I think that acts of if you're somebody who earns,
Yes.
random acts of charity, this is not a good time.
Mm.
I totally agree with him about spending on paper first before you
Yes.
start dipping into your pocket.
Pockets.
You can decide that, okay, owing to how things are right now, going forward, I'm committing just 10% of my time, of my
resources,
of my resources
our collective
to-
resources.
Yes,
No.
our collective resources. If you are married,
Yes, of course.
to philanthropic needs. I will only go out of my way if it is something to do with life and death.
Yeah.
But I will no longer be bending over backwards, borrowing money from people to help you out because your rent is
Or
due.
that relative comes from the
you
village.
had 12
and-
months to plan. I mean, your rent is due and you don't have even half of it saved. It means that you were hoping that I would come and bear the burden for you. It's better to hear that I had this money, I've been able to save this much.
Excellent.
Can you add something
Excellent.
for me? Than just my
Agree.
rent is due,
Yeah,
is 800,000 and you're expecting
Agree.
me to bring out the whole
I agree.
thing.
I
It's
agree
wrong.
with you. You see what I always tell people, because I learned from a friend of mine. I used to ask her, how did she was always paying her rent in a highbrow area. And I asked her, how do you do this? She said, guess what? I save every day.
Oh yeah.
And I said, how? She said she always used to keep money. When it's time for the rent, she already has the money. And that's what she did for her kids, for school.
Yeah. Yeah.
She said this was what she was doing. Like it was, she said when she started, it was difficult. But eventually, it just went, so every day it wouldn't kill you.
Yeah.
If you have, like I always tell people, like my mom has this, what do you
Piggy bank.
call, yeah. So what
Piggy
she
bank.
does, every day, if there's 1,000, she throws it in. So if you throw 1,000 in 30 days,
That's
That's
30,000.
30,000.
so you might even have more than 30,000.
Oh, definitely.
Then what you do, the back of your house, plant ugu.
Vegetables.
You do your small tomatoes and all that. So you now find out that you don't have to go to the market. And I always tell people, tomatoes is expensive. So buy shombo. You any which way,
There's always a way.
There's
Now
always
let
a
me
way.
go to Hajia because I know that you've indicted us, on two occasions. I think we're the biggest spender, but we all know the truth. As women managing, the home, it's a whole lot. I tell people when we talk about house rent could be high, school fees can be high, but the biggest money gulping aspect of a home is feeding. How do we begin to, take care of our homes, to ensure that we spend less this period?
I think it still comes down to what Doctor said. It also starts from budgeting.
Okay.
You know how much, like you can have an idea of how much you spend or you earn monthly. When you know what's for this, what's for that, and then you come to expenditure for food. I think one of the key things to do here is learn to not be wasteful. Most people are wasteful.
Yeah.
What do you mean by this?
In the sense that when you cook, most times you overcook
Yeah.
and then there's always left
In
over
anticipation.
in anticipation. Now things are a bit hard for many people. So cooking a large pot, you are 4 or 5 in your family and you're cooking for 10 people. Why? And there's no light. So it's not like you can refrigerate it and keep it preserved for tomorrow. So you have to really cut down on so much food that you cook, and then you also have to teach the kids. Because honestly, you see these are
Waste.
entitled children. You see
It's
these are
really
entitled
this
children.
whole thing of teach the kids.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? The milk on the table is more than the one that went into the teacup. What is
Yes.
it? Do you have the shakes?
That's the
What's the
point.
problem?
You have to
Like,
teach them to learn to manage things. Because the truth is, our kids today, we don't have this sense of understanding of things don't have to be overboard. They take and take and take. So we have to teach them, learn to take a little and leave the rest for someone else. Because they make tea and then you see the bottom of the cup
Yes.
is a mountain of sugar.
Oh, yes.
that will get washed away.
Yeah, to get washed away.
There-
And then when
there's
they pour it
something
out,
else.
Oh,
they
no.
don't finish it,
No,
and
they
then
don't.
they pour it away.
Let me write on what you just said. There is something else we also teach, and this is also very important. There are two things actually. First is bulk purchasing.
Yes, very
Okay,
important.
bulk purchasing will always help.
You
But
need
of course,
power.
you now begin to talk about resources to do bulk purchase. Then you can do combined purchasing,
Yes.
where 2 or 3 people come together and buy a bag of
That's what.
powdered
Yeah,
milk,
it happens
powdered
a
milk.
lot in
Then,
civil
then you
service.
can share that. There are women belong to various groups,
Yes.
from
Men do
social
too.
groups. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
From social groups to church groups to associations and all of that. That can happen. And the second thing again, talking about parenting and teaching kids. Teach kids to take responsibility. If you can afford it, give each child his own container of milk.
It was safe.
Let him know. Let him know that
Seriously?
when yours is done, when you're
It's
done
done.
with yours, you can take another person's. Watch them; they will take their portions.
Yes.
I have a wife who does this thing, so
Are
I,
you
I
I,
have a
serious?
friend who does that,
It
thing,
works.
and they're not poor. They're
no,
not
no,
poor.
no, no.
What she
I'm going
does
to give
is
you, this is your
everybody-
milk.
She
and this is
buys-
your
she
milk.
buys
Yeah,
a
it works.
sachet.
Yes.
She buys, the first time I saw her with strings and
Oh,
strings
yes.
of sachets,
Every child has
I
his
started
own.
teasing her. I said, "What is it? Are you starting a small provision store? What?" She
You
said,
teach
"No,
them how to manage early.
that she has discovered that her children want to use the soup spoon
Oh yes, to take
dish
the
up
milk.
milk, that they take milk with a little bit of tea. So she wants them to
And it
understand
when you turn
not
it,
that
Yes.
their tea,
It's like chocolate.
that their
Yeah,
tea
yes.
is like that their
It's
tea is
chocolate.
like custard.
Yes.
So she wants to show them where it's pinching her. That she gives each of them 3 sachets a day.
Mm.
You can take it in the morning. You can
It's your choice.
if you want
It's
to
your
empty the
business.
whole 3
And
into
trust
your
kids.
first
Yes.
cup of tea.
They will
That's
keep
your
it well.
business.
To arrange.
She gives them 3 sachets a day, and that's it. In fact, when she told me, I laughed and held my tummy. I thought it was funny because this was like 4-5 years
She
ago.
was like,
Yeah.
So now that
It's
the fuel thing has
accountability.
gone through
It's
the roof,
accountability.
now that fuel has gone through the roof, probably should be giving them 1 sachet each because now they are even older.
You know
That
this
time they
ketchup?
were small.
This
Yes.
big size ketchup.
Oh, yes.
My kids love ketchup. When they
Those
take
squeeze
it,
I have a
they
son.
will squeeze
I have
the
a son that puts
it will
ketchup in
come-
everything,
Come on,
so-
I think they wouldn't want to stop. I kept on talking. They didn't stop. One day I went to see my school. My son he's on campus, university, and then I saw him about to eat chips, and he brought out a ketchup and he did pip. I said, come on, wait now, what
Exactly.
is happening?
He's spending the
He
money.
said, do you know how much ketchup is? I said, oh, so you now know how much ketchup is. When I was begging you not to hold it and hold on to it and not stop.
Squeeze
I
it
think
for
it's-
dear life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's key, they
it
have
will
to take
teach the child to
responsibility.
Yeah.
take responsibility, accountability.
Yes.
You don't, and then there are other things that kids learn from it. the child, of course, once they are still tender, they'll know that I can't finish mine and take yours.
Mhm.
You know, so they keep theirs
One
well.
can make
Yeah.
And
yours.
over time,
Yeah.
of course, kids will be kids. You're likely going to see one who finishes and want to take the sister's own.
Yeah.
But then you use that to teach the child, yours is yours and hers is hers.
No,
You
okay.
can give out of,
Love.
Love that
That
is,
is
but
fine.
it's
You also
not-
use that to
shouldn't be
teach them.
entitled.
It's
Yeah.
not an
Yes,
entitlement
yes,
thing.
that's
and
it.
then over time,
Mhm.
they learn to keep their things well.
Yes.
And then they also understand the family connection that you
Yes.
can actually still share,
Share.
with your siblings.
Siblings.
And then everybody is happy and they live happily ever
You know,
after.
when I was growing up, I always used to say it, and even now, people used to say, "How come you never eat your meat when you're eating?" And I said it was the way I was brought up.
Me too.
And water. So they never used
Yeah,
to
I
give
like
me.
it.
They never used to give me water, and
Until
they
you're
never used
done.
to give me because anytime I take the water, I will not finish the food. If I eat the meat first, I will not finish the food, and somehow it has helped me because, and I always tell people, I don't believe in putting 2 pieces of meat. I've always told people, make that one meat big,
Mm.
so that you know when you finish eating that one big
There's a
meat,
good chunk.
it's a good chunk. So now, people say they give their husbands 4 pieces and all that. The boys 2 pieces and all that. Now we have to now change. I like pomo a lot.
Ah, Momo is so nice.
Yeah,
But they
but
say that
my
Have
dear,
mommy-
you know the preparation
see,
process.
you see, this
Yeah.
is you see right now. I never thought that I could eat bala fish. I never used to think I could eat, but you cannot afford to be eating all those other expensive coca and all that. So right now, you have to now teach your children that you know what things have changed. Anything you're given, you must eat it because too many kids tend to question. I don't know how to eat semo. I don't know how to eat beans.
Yeah.
Choice.
I don't know choices. So anything you get, you must eat it.
You know, I actually think children are very mischievous. They do that. They want to test the water,
Yeah.
you know, and once you're giving,
That's it.
they go at it again.
Yeah.
And before you know it, becomes a norm.
Yeah.
You know, parenting, as a good parent, it's not all about giving and giving. It's the context of the cane and the carrot.
Yeah.
You must learn to use the two of them, apply it to be firm and fair. Considering the fact that you're trying to bring in the best of children into the world, you must learn to, you know, be strong at whatever you do. Another thing again I want us to look at is, you know, eating at home. Eating at home. Most people have lost it. Yes, because I go to eat in a particular place. If you want to eat well, nothing less than 5,000 naira. Seriously.
Yeah.
Well,
If
Yeah.
you want to eat
It
well
does.
in a certain
In that
kind of
particular
place,
place.
Depending on
Yeah.
the place.
that's what I'm saying, in a particular kind of place, nothing less than 5,000
No,
naira.
5,000.
Let's even
Fine.
set it. Let's set if you go to the
5,000
regular,
is
if you go to the
It's
let's
not
not talk
that
about
easy.
eating well.
Mm.
If you go to the
It's not
regular
a particular
restaurant, the
place.
fast foods,
Yes.
if you, a regular meal that is not less than 3,500 or 5,000 naira, depending on how many pieces of meat.
Meat you
A,
took-
a,
you
a
take.
piece
Uh-huh.
of beef is 1,500 in
Yes.
some places. So that's at 5,000. So don't call it eating well. Let's say go to a regular place.
A regular
like
place.
that.
It's
Because
Not
5,000
it's
eating
only
well.
25
Because
kilo.
if I want to eat now,
But what do we mean by eating
I go to
well?
somewhere.
No,
Are
what
we
I mean
talking
is that
about
if
buffet
no,
or
if I-
just
no, no,
a-
if I
That's
walk
a
into a
plan.
fast food
nutritious
now,
A fast food, yeah.
no, if
Yeah.
I walk
It's
into
a
a fast
5,000
food now,
naira.
a plate
Yes.
of rice,
It's
Yes.
5,000.
chicken,
5,000 will do it.
chicken,
Yes.
maybe
Yeah, juice.
No, it won't do it.
coleslaw.
It won't
And,
do it won't do
dinner.
it for me.
That's why
It
I'm
depends
asking
on
that.
what.
Is it a
It won't do
buffet
it.
we're talking
So
about?
let's
When
call
we
it a
say
regular meal.
A regular
Okay,
meal.
regular meal,
Let's do
5,000
regular meal.
naira. I'm
Because
trying to be
there
there
as
are
cheap
some
as
places
possible.
that I know that they feel is regular,
Mm.
and if you buy eja is already 3,000. If you buy
What's
igbin,
eja?
fish. If you now buy igbin, which is snail,
Don't go there.
No, one snail is
That's a
5,000.
big one now.
Don't go there.
So now,
Snails are
but
exotic.
with the same
It's
5,000,
not
that's one
exotic.
person's pocket.
Yes.
oh well,
One person's belly.
yes,
With the same 5,000, if we are 5 at home,
yes.
that's 25,000.
Mhm.
I'll take the same 25,000
I'll
and go to
yes,
markets.
agree,
And I'll cook meat,
correct,
correct soup.
yes.
I'll cook stew, and I'll still have eba and rice and small mineral for the table.
We should stop
And that
eating
can
out.
that can actually last you more than a day or two. You know,
Lizzie,
you will
you say
feel.
we should stop eating out.
No, I didn't say.
No, as much as
Yeah.
possible.
Can
We should
reduce it.
reduce it.
Parents
We
should
need
learn
to
to
eat out
cook
sometimes.
at home.
Yes, I
Oh,
agree.
yeah.
You know,
Agree.
parents should learn. Number one, you're sure of the hygiene of a food.
Yeah,
You're also sure of the balanced meal.
yeah.
because you're not using overnight vegetables, you're not using overnight stuff, you're sure of what you're giving to your family. And then at the end of the day, you don't put a sledgehammer in your pocket. It's very important. I'm not saying that once in a while you shouldn't go out
Occasional.
to
That's
eat.
okay.
No, once in a while you can, but on daily basis, I have seen a place where a child is going to school. The mother gives the child
Money.
a food flask. I thought there was
Okay.
food inside.
No, there's no food.
But the way the child was wearing
No,
it,
you
I
knew
checked,
there was
it was
nothing in it.
empty.
Yes, there was
And then
nothing
there was
in it.
money attached.
Yes, that's
so
it.
this child is supposed to go to the Yabasira by the road,
And buy a meal.
buy food,
They do that
and go
a lot
to school.
in the south,
And I'm
in
like,
Lagos.
what
Yes.
were you doing all morning?
Yes, a lot of homes in the southwest.
In the southwest.
Yes,
I
that's-
noticed.
I cook
they
every
go-
day.
yes,
they
go-
I
go-
cook,
it's-
before
they
I
don't
came
go
to
to
work
school with-
today, I
I
already made
noticed.
my breakfast,
Yeah.
and it's freshly made.
But let me even come to where Nigerians can really be indicted. Nigerians, we have this bizarre thing of, that thing is too cheap, I'm not buying it.
Nuggets.
But you'll go and you will know fully that Nigerians are ready to buy the same piece of gold in a shop where it will cost 100,000 more,
They feel it's
knowing
original.
fully that they are literally of the same, grade and everything, but just so they will be able to say, I bought this one in Ekama.
It's called packaging,
Yes.
There's a
which
certain
is very
level-
unhealthy.
There's
Yes.
a level of packaging that is unhealthy
Healthy,
and
very
straight up
unhealthy.
bad and
Yes.
speaks to a low
Self-esteem.
self-esteem,
I agree with you.
inferiority complex
Yes,
kind of
I
thing.
agree with you.
Who are you competing with? Why must you always wear Hollandis, even if it means you have to go and borrow money from the local thrift to buy it? Who said that you must contribute to make that Ashoebi?
I agree.
Because sometimes if I know that the money for the Ashoebi will be even more expensive than the gift, I will skip going for
I'll
the
stay
wedding,
at home.
or I'll wear my regular dress
I'll
and
stay
come,
at
so
home.
that I can even put the money in an envelope and give
And
it
give
to
you.
you.
It's
Because I
a
cannot
Nigerian
buy.
problem.
Yes. It's a
Why
big
would
Nigerian
you
problem.
make a wedding and then your Ashoebi alone is 100,000? What does that mean?
What
Some people are actually maximizing from this.
Yeah.
I'll
Become a
share
business
a
now.
real life story.
Yes.
We financed a customer. We have this loans in the office that we call. We gave out the SME loans. Okay, so to this lady in Port Harcourt, and all she was doing was roast plantain and fish in the streets, and she was giving 300,000 naira to start. And while she was doing that, a plate was going for about 1,500. And a lot of it was in the vicinity of banks. So a lot of bankers were not coming there. It was drivers and cleaners. And she came and asked for an upgrade. So we gave her additional 2 million naira facility. Now she rented a shop next door.
They will come.
She rented a shop next door and put the same 1,500 plantain and fish for 5,000 naira. Now everybody else was now going there. Same thing. Now what she did was that she kept her daughter to run the street business.
Street work.
And then she had
For the
this
drivers.
packaged offers.
Yes.
So but the food was being produced
In
at the
that
roadside
same-
and being served. So what did she do?
God.
So people are taking advantage of it, like you
Yes.
said. Someone the Shebi business, for me it's a business.
Yes,
someone
I
goes
agree with you.
to Lagos and buys
Yes.
these things at a certain cost and then sells it. I won't say who they sell it to. And then the prices go to
crazy.
100,000,
It's
150,000,
crazy.
and then
we should learn to cut our coats according to
Exactly.
The material.
not just our size, the material.
The material.
It's important. I went for a red carpet event, and incidentally, what I was wearing from head to toe was made by me. And some people were walking in and they were, oh, I bought this from blah blah. It got to my turn. The lady asked me. I said, from head to my feet, it's all designed and made by me. She was like, wow. How? I said, I did it. One lady stood beside me and she was like, I said, you suddenly lost interest, but I noticed you were admiring my dress earlier. So because it's me that made it, it's not good enough anymore.
But we don't all have
But the
these
thing
skills.
is, no, I'm just giving you an example. A
acceptability.
lot of times we want to run away from the things that are good because we feel that perhaps we know this person that produced it, or maybe it's too cheap. The same thing that it's cheap on one side is expensive the other side. You go and borrow money to get it done. That's why our parents, or as parents, we leave schools that are next door to carry our children to high heavens and pay school fees, pay
prove a
fuel
point.
money.
If you can afford it, that's
Most of
fine,
the time they
because
cannot.
levels.
They
Most of the
cannot.
time they cannot
Most
afford
people
it.
struggle for
They
that.
cannot.
But if you
Let
can't
us open
afford
our
it,
can't
phones
that's
afford
exactly
it.
what
and see
I'm
people
saying. That's
soliciting
wrong.
for
They
money.
cannot afford
That's
it.
And
wrong.
it can be because of value.
That's
if
wrong.
the school next to you is a mushroom school, has very low standard, of course you cannot take your kid.
Yeah,
Have you
but you
taken
must-
interest in that school to find out
No, but you
what
see,
is their
but you
standard?
know the thing
Yeah, of
that
course,
you
you
see the
ask
thing
them.
that kills me about what many parents do is that most of their kids tend to have low self-esteem because if they cannot pay, if they don't pay the school fees, they will not tell them not to come into school. And most kids, I see some kids tell me, but every time when it comes to exams, I cannot do my exams because they lock me out.
Mm.
And it affects the kids. So parents should tend to talk with their kids. And even now, the thing has turned, the tables have turned. The kids are now telling parents, look, if you can't afford the school,
Change my school.
change my school. And that's why they say that even though they tend to blame we women, we women folks who want to compete with the other people, not knowing how other husbands get their fundings, they always tell the women, try and manage with the man. Don't put the men under pressure.
It's not
Yeah.
always only
It's
women.
not only women. There are men who also want to impress.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's talking about parenting generally.
Yes.
I actually believe that parenting is, as the name is, parenting is done at home,
Yes.
not at school.
No.
Things like self-esteem and a child being bold is taught at home,
Yes,
not
I
at
agree.
school.
Yeah.
And a new trend is beginning to emerge where parents are beginning to homeschool.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's another thing that will
Yes.
go with this type
Yes.
of this school fees
Yes,
allocating
I
and
agree.
all of that. People are beginning to look at the concept of homeschooling.
Schooling.
Teach your child, prepare the child for that exam,
Exam.
and register the child to go take because of
Yes.
the laws, because if you
Yeah.
have to enter a high school or a college in Nigeria and all of that, you have to go through
You know,
the normal
it
system.
actually works
So
because
It works.
homeschooling is
It
good.
actually
it
works.
works.
You know?
It works with
It works.
Open University.
Yes, it works.
You know,
Yeah.
Yes.
I tried it. I
Yes.
did a program with them, a master's course, of course, and from beginning to end,
And
I home trained and schooled myself.
Yes.
I
And
only
you went and
went
wrote
in,
your exam.
I wrote
Yes,
my
and you wrote
exams.
your exams.
There was no tutoring. They just gave
Is
me
that
the
what you meant
materials.
by
Yeah,
homeschooling?
yeah,
No, but
yeah.
no,
So
she
I
did,
did
but
That's
it.
virtual learning.
That's-
That's
It
a
was
different
only
thing.
No, it wasn't
virtual.
virtual.
No, it
She
wasn't
did
They
virtual.
don't give you the text to read.
They gave me
and
something
a
to read,
curriculum.
as you register, and I studied on my own.
her own.
Went
Yes.
on net,
Yes.
did my research,
people do that for
everything.
primary school
No,
and
but
All
secondary
I
that's
did
school.
was
online learning. It's
no.
not
No, she
homeschooling.
did
Why
it
I
for
say it's
online.
not online is
There is
because
no-
there was no
there is no
teacher.
teaching.
I never
There was
saw
no
a
teacher.
Not
teacher.
online learning.
It was from the admin blog that I took all my
She
materials.
took the curriculum
Yes.
And
and
then
taught
based on
herself.
the materials, I made references and research online and taught myself. I faced the exams and I finished.
And
And
the-
I
and
liked
the
it
books
because
are
up
actually
until
very,
now,
very
I don't know who the
simple.
lecturer was.
They have like
that
And
marked
manuals
me.
nobody
that
bothered
you
you.
simplify
Nobody bothered
what
me.
you
All those
understand.
molestations and all
Yeah.
of that.
But
I didn't
even
have
this one
anything.
you're even saying, you can even do virtual as well.
Yes, you can.
And
You
then
can do virtual.
still talking about this thing of cutting our clothes according to our blah blah blah.
It's
The-
called the material.
The
Yeah.
AMBCA thing.
Yeah, no, don't go there.
I heard that some of those outfits
million.
cost 5 million,
And they look
they're
silly.
going to be worn
Once.
because from how masquerade, I'm trying to look for the word. Those things looked outlandish. People looked like they were coming straight from Mars. Yeah, they looked bizarre. That's the truth.
And
I
cannot
noticed
spend-
one or two outfits that were,
That
I was
were
like, yeah,
nice.
these are nice.
Yes.
But most of them topped what your typical wedding dress would look like. And a wedding dress is the icing on the cake.
Some require like
For
4
your
people to
typical-
have them wear.
No, but
I'm
no,
like-
they even to carry. I saw some people carrying the.
the train and everything.
Let me quickly
And the
touch base
question
with
in
our
my
online
mind
audience,
is,
please.
what message
Because
are
our
we
time is no
sending?
longer. Somebody says here, I listened to your conversation as usual. The teachers in Kwara and Edo State part of a 3 days working arrangement. I am not going to answer that question for you. Reason being that you should keep up with the news. If you're not in Kwara State, if you're not in Edo State, you're not part of this. But just find out what works for your own domain, your school. Let's see. Somebody says here, thanks for discussing on vital domestic issues very well. May I crave your indulgence to be tolerant with your husband and children because of the situation you're all talking about. Mom, would you have been able to discuss something like this if the four of you are wives to this man amongst you? Oh, wow. Dr. Haruna, Well, he's the only man amongst us. He's not, does
I
not
didn't
make
get the
him,
There's
question.
I
no.
didn't
he
get the
does not,
question.
he's
I
trying
didn't
to
get
say
what
that
the question was.
Wouldn't women be
when
competing?
women, you know, are in a polygamous setting, that women will never really
Well,
work hand.
that's why I'm not in a polygamous
Okay.
setting, and
Mm.
will never
Anyway, no
be.
matter what it is, whether it's polygamy or monogamy, I still believe that the basis remains the basis. If you drag your husband until the money finishes, there'll be none to give you tomorrow. You know, bring and bring and now for cow, body abi. That's how they say.
Yeah,
Your final
that's
thoughts
true.
before we go.
Well, I think things are hard, yes, but we can always find a way to cope.
Okay. All right.
Like I said, things have changed, so we have to change as well.
All right. Doc.
Quickly to say to the men, I'm sure this will be interesting. Be honest and transparent about how what you earn. Be realistic in what you have, so that the expectation from the women or your wife will also not be too much.
All right. Devon.
Don't live your life to impress anybody.
All right, and for me, before I leave, let me just take one more prayer. There's so many of them coming in, I don't know. And this person says, just before you go, thanks for the topic. Please also touch on the issue of provision given to children in our boarding schools, especially in federal government colleges. Mothers are guilty of this, I think, because they think mothers pack excess for their children. That's because they're very, very overprotective. And the other person says that your program is good, but it's important that we make sure that the children at home are well schooled. And he says, Allah assist us. That's Suleiman. Thank you very much for Kwara State. Thank you. And I know that at the end of this 1 hour, if there's nothing you have picked on, you have been able to take home how to ensure that your fuel lasts for you. For the ones in the generator, if you have a guiding time, if you want to power your generator at 7, you power it and turn it off at a certain time. But within that period, make sure you're not opening your fridge, your freezer, so that it can get really cold for your things get to be preserved. Until next when we come here again, remember, being a good citizen is not dependent on the government, it's dependent on you because you're the citizen. Let's make Nigeria work. Ciao, ciao.